All right, welcome to another game from the Cologne Legacy League. This is from the April tournament, first round, Dimir Tempo against Mono Green Lands. And wouldn't you believe it, it's both of us playing. So I'm Stefan, commenting and playing the Dimir deck, and this is my friend Chris, who is playing and commenting the Lands deck. So Chris, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, to be honest, as a Lens player, I couldn't be more, happy than because this is the reason why I play the deck, right? I want to play against the tempo matchups. I want to play against these kind of decks because this is where I can, outgrind them. Let's see if I'm successful here.
Yeah, and honestly, playing the Dimir shell currently instead of my usual Izzet, first of all, obviously I don't like the matchup. I don't think any tempo player really does. However, here I really want to be Izzet because of the extra burn you've got and because of the extra reach you've got, and the Dimir deck does not offer this. Now, you saw me start on Underground Sewers, which of course, starting with a tap land is always a bit tricky. I've got the Wasteland ready. Reading your exploration because I haven't seen that card before ever. Now, just to make sure, of course. And at this point, I'm already considering my options as far as where's my clock. So I had to start turn 1 on a tap land, and then turn 2 on a wasteland, which of course I basically have to be ready, keep ready for your combo. But that also means I didn't deploy a threat. So when you were in this situation, what do you think?
Well, I knew you were a tempo player, so I knew what I was up against. So I was pretty happy to play Forest first. Seeing the Wasteland, on the one hand, is a good sign for me doing the right thing in terms of playing what lands I'm playing. But then if you look at my hand, what I want to do is potentially play a Dark Depth and try to build a token. Fast, and that is difficult.
Yeah, and what you saw me do here is I actually decided to force your exploration, pitching my days, and then deploying, unfortunately, my weakest threat in this matchup, which is a Bowmasters. Obviously, you don't draw a lot of cards, so it doesn't ever really grow. But I have to find a threat, and so you seeing your handful of options here are actually in a very commanding position, despite the fact that I've got 3 mana open. Not just because half of your threats or half of your cards just bypass combo in general, but because at this point in time, with me having 3 lands, it's already been established that I'm not on a fast clock. I can't be on a fast clock, and that is to your benefit. So you play out...
playing out the Rumble?
Yeah, Rumble, of course. Sheesh.
Playing out the Rumble, playing around days here. I don't know. I mean, you pitched the days, but I thought... better safe than sorry. And then I was planning the turn a little bit because I know I get the spawn. And I played the Rumble, but I'm pretty sure I had a follow-up play here.
Mm-hmm. So brainstorming, trying to find an answer, or at the very least a reaction to the Rumble?
If I recall correctly, the Rumble resolved.
That would surprise me. That would surprise me because, well, first of all, you haven't got the token yet, and the Rumble is still where it is. So either I didn't communicate this clearly, or I messed up. Because otherwise, if it resolved, I wouldn't have priority to cast the Brainstorm.
Oh no, I was looking into the future and thought I remember the Rumble resolving, but now that I'm thinking about it, maybe you even forced it. Let's see.
We'll see.
Putting back to cards.
You see me. Skilled as always. So you're resolving the Rumble, finding Expedition Map, Mox Diamond, Ancient Tomb, and another exploration.
Yeah, here the choice was not that difficult. I didn't need more mana, so the Ancient Tomb is not a choice. Mox Diamond, the same. Exploration Map, I think I had what I need already. Mm-hmm. So I'm very happily taking the exploration. Mm-hmm. And now I can play the exploration playing around days. That's why I recall it that way.
Unfortunately, can't see my options here. I'm not sure I have a counterspell at this point. I do, and I'm pitching Brazen Borrower. Again, the fact that, despite the fact that I played plenty against lands, I never really quite know the ideal lines. I'm not even sure the lands players themselves know them. But I figured if you're making such a big fuzz out of trying to resolve this exploration, I probably want to get it off the field. And here I'm just wasting for mana denial, which of course means that I'm taking myself off of one possible answer to your combo. But at this point, I felt that I might actually have a shot here, seeing as how I managed to counter you twice. And of course, with the Thoughtseize in my hand that are now resolved, I figured I have a pretty good look. Unfortunately, of course, as always the case with lands, almost all the things I actually want to get out of your hand, Thoughtseize doesn't catch.
Yeah, that was a hard Thoughtseize, I think. You have to take the Crucible of Worlds here, obviously, and I have the Life from Malone in hand, which I can start using next turn. I'm not sure if using the Force of Will here, or I was not sure if using the Force of Will here was correct, but now looking at my hand, I mean, what else should you force?
I mean, that's another thing playing against lands, aside from the fact that lands are just very hard to get out of your hand or get to catch with counterspells. Life from the Loam, if it goes to the graveyard, just comes back immediately. And when I said at the beginning of this that I much rather be Izzet instead of Dimir, part of that is because, as you see, the two black cards that I've played so far, Bowmasters and Thoughtseize, Bowmasters is not a very good threat, and Thoughtseize is not a very good answer to this deck. I would much rather have one of the red threats that develops much faster, and I would much rather have the reach or the burn to just, finish the game before it gets out of hand.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, the Bowmasters are really, usually they stay 1/1s, and the Orc army stay 1/1s against me because I'm not drawing a lot of cards at all. So they basically put a 10-turn clock. But sometimes it's difficult for the lands player to handle these kind of things. If I don't combo quick enough, then it can get tricky. So here I'm loaming just for lands. Don't know what to do with them yet. I basically want to get more stuff into the graveyard, find a Thespian stage, or maybe even an Urza Saga to start pressuring you.
Yeah, but if my math is, or if my memory serves me correctly, we're now on turn either 4 or 5, and you're still on 15. There have been points at which I actually just conceded in this spot if I haven't gotten you to low enough yet, and my threats haven't, aren't as threatening as they should be. Unfortunately, as I said, no reach in the deck, so I'm basically just hoping to get there with creatures. But since this is still game 1 and we're playing at a reasonable pace, I'm trying to see how it works out. However, at this point in time, 2 cards in my hand, full grip on your side, anemic threat on my end. This is slipping out of my hands quickly.
I mean, if you would have found like a Murktide now, that could have really been a problem, because if you have a Murktide and I only have my spawn, it's very difficult for me to handle one Murktide without Maze of It, which I don't have at the moment, because everything else for me doesn't do it. So I think that's your out here.
It is, but at the same time, I don't have a second blue source. The Wasteland really did a number on me, and me having to fetch for basics, because now I needed to fetch for black land in order to cast the Bowmasters. However, I didn't want to open myself up to a second Wasteland, so I went for a basic, which means that I can't create blue if I do find a Murktide. That being said, it's still 4 power on the board, and it should be 4 power on the board. I'm not quite sure what I did with the die on the Oak army there. So there is something here, but it is very slow.
And here I'm seeing it. I still recall that from that game, the Maze of It that is in my hand. I recall forgetting to use that at least 4 to 5 times in that match, so it will get a little bit embarrassing at some point, but we're not there yet.
I have made worse mistakes against better players, so there you go. So yeah, the game plays out honestly not that excitingly, seeing as how I'm basically drawing a single card per turn. Quite quickly, of course, any tempo deck can draw into more card draw. However, let's say if it were May and I would have had access to flow state, at least I can get up in cards again. But this being an April tournament, most I can do is going 1 for 1, which means drawing a single card per turn. That means I have to look out for a lot of things. On the one hand, I want to find a Wasteland, because that is still the best answer I've got to your threat. On the other hand, my threats again are quite anemic, and I would like them to be stronger than they are. And so I'm not quite sure what I would be searching for if I were even searching for anything. But if I recall correctly, I didn't draw any card draw anyways, and so it's a moot point.
And now I remember what happened to the Orc army, why that's still on 1. I think you targeted the Eldrazi spawn and I sacked it.
Right. Excellent play by me, of course. Denying you the mana, but you, on the other hand, did the obvious thing and denied me the +1/+1.
So now I see my hand is getting a little bit fuller. Only lands. I saw a Tabernacle, which is nice at this spot to at least take one of your creatures out and then deny you from doing things.
I mean, the Lance player only having lands in their hand is not that unusual. But you did mention the Tabernacle, and of course Maze of Ith and Tabernacle combine to basically lock me out of the game, especially with me only being on 2 lands if you do develop them both. And so if I weren't going to concede a few minutes ago, I think at this point I have to look for the clock and actually consider conceding, because I do not think that I have a reasonable way to win this game. That being said, I haven't seen the Tabernacle yet, so I will now, and there you go.
And we are 11 minutes in the round, so I mean, I am at 7. You have 3 power on board. I have nothing. You now see that I don't have a lethal threat. If I don't loam into something that actually kills you, I will lose that.
Well, to be fair, the reason why you're at 7 is because the Maze of It hasn't been used as much as it should be.
Yeah.
Then again,
that's true.
My current threats, as anemic as they are quite resilient to Maze of Ith because all of them only deal 1 damage.
Right. I just love this deck. I mean, the land deck. Even though, you know.
You are allowed to think that way, but I want to point out you're wrong. Regardless, the Lance player, whom we all know, deploys the Tabernacle, and that means I'm going to be spending a lot of mana to keep my threats alive, which I do here decide to fully tap out in order to keep all my threats on the board. Again, benefiting from the fact that you didn't use the Maze of Ith here. And at this point, I have to admit that was my game plan, just trying to push it through once more and then see if I can finish the game somehow, although of course I'm aware of the dark depths. Unfortunately, I keep it very close to the chest, so I don't know what I drew here, but I do remember that I did not actually have any reasonable options, obviously including the fact that I just decided to tap out my mana before the draw, but otherwise, how am I going to win? And here again, we see the issue with the Dimir build versus Izzet. With Izzet, I could afford to let one of my creatures go and just try to burn you out with bolts over 2 turns, because the deck does not kill that quickly, even with the combo.
True, that's right. I mean, all the burn spells that would have helped you quite a bit. Here, I find Sphere of Resistance, which is not the best card against you, especially in this spot, but it's decent. I would have loved to have something to kill you. I was wondering if I should have loamed 1 turn before rather than drawing, because I saw 1 more card even though I didn't have anything to kill you, so that was a little risky of me, I think. So let's see what I do now. I have another loam in hand. That's not helpful. So do I dredge? Oh, I'm thinking. I dredge. I find a Thespian stage. That's my rescue.
Yeah, with me seeing the Thespian stage now, again, I can't see my hand right now, but I know what I felt during the game, and I do believe that this is when I realized I'm not even going to get down to the last 3 points of damage. I don't think there is a way. And if there is one thing I dislike about the land deck, because honestly I do think it's extremely cool, it's the fact that sometimes you know the game is over, but it's not quite over. As you just said, it takes a while. It's almost like one of those combo decks where you have to play your lines out and see if you win. Even if you're 98% favored to win, there is something to be said about staying in the game and waiting for your opponent to actually finish it versus conserving the clock.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it was kind of close due to misplays for me as well, but I mean, me being at 3, I can make a token now, and I can mace up it the other threads. So now I'm feeling kind of safe. let's see.
Yeah, so I decide again to tap both of my keep both of my creatures and attack, which means of course that only 1 damage will go through, getting you down to 2. But of course, I know you have a Thespian stage. I can see the Dark Depths, and so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get another attack through, or at the very least, not enough attack or attacks to actually get you down to 0.
Here I draw and I find a crop rotation, which is excellent. Because even if you find a way to deal with my first threat, I feel like I can deploy a second one. Let's see what's happening here.
You just love to see that on the other side of the table. Your opponent with, all their mana open, 7 cards in hand, all their options, see half the graveyard, and it's like you've got 7 different ways to win this game. Which one are you going to go for? You let
At
me
this point, you should screw it up.
Yeah.
Right?
You let me untap. Again, I decide to keep both my Bodemasters because in the end that's the only option I've got. Decide to attack. You will untap one of them with the Maze of Ith, and you go to 1.
Well, that's courageous of me. I mean, I could have made the token. I mean, at this point, if you have 1 mana, I don't think you have a possibility with 1 mana to deal with the token.
Not at all. And as I said, that's the fact that you don't have to be afraid of me interacting with the token, or you don't have to be afraid of me reaching with Lightning Bolt, for example. Has been a common theme, although to be fair, despite the fact that this is now turn, I think, 9, I've missed some land drops, which of course is also a result of the fact that I had to tap my mana in order to keep my creatures alive, which means I can't play my card draw spells, which means if I don't find lands, I also can't go dig for lands, and the lock is just very strong with Maze of Ith and Tabernacle. That being said, if both of these creatures weren't 1/1s but 3/2s, like Delver's Secrets, or 3/3s, like DRCs, the game would be over already. And that is just purely a result of the threats not being good enough. And then I take 20 from, Kai Buddha, I suppose, and we go to the second game.
Yeah, so this brings us 17 minutes into the round, which is okay.
Yeah, it's exactly a third of the 50 minutes, so well done on both of us. So as far as the sideboard goes, what do you got?
So against you, sideboarding is not that difficult. I'm thinking about Whale of Summer, a Drop of Honey, potentially Dismember against Tamios, and then taking out is really difficult. But I mean, maybe a Rumble, maybe a Crop Rotation, because Crop Rotations can be a 2-for-1. So I don't have it exactly mapped out. Maybe a Sphere of Resistance, and we will go to the sideboard of you as well.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So the obvious ones are I do think I do bring in Consigns, despite the fact that they don't really get rid of all of your triggers. Shieldred's Edict, of course, is the one clean answer I've got to the token. Since it's black and it's indestructible, most of the removal doesn't catch it. Again, another strike against Dimir, because 4 my Snuff Out and 4 of my Fatal Pushes are dead against you game 1. So those need to come out. Toxic Deluge is going to come in. Yes, I have done that before, although of course it's quite ridiculous. And then of course all the graveyard hate that you can afford. If this were Izzet, of course, we would have Price of Progress, which is a huge game winner against lands, as well as a couple of other cards, which unfortunately I don't have in the black-blue build. So game 2, I get to start, and I start with the classic of Ponder.
It's a reoccurring theme here. I feel like you need to go back to Izzet.
I am actually going back to Izzet, so look forward to that next month. But to be fair, this is the one matchup which they're both unfavored. Izzet is maybe 48%, and Dimir is something like 45%, if I had to put the numbers down. But when it rains, it pours, and when you really feel it, that you are just missing some burn, you're missing some interaction that maybe the lands player can't really figure out. So I started with Underground Sea Ponder and had to shuffle. Whether that means I'm looking for a land or I'm looking for interaction, we'll see.
So what's my best start against you? It's some acceleration for sure. Potentially Urza Saga combined with acceleration, so with Mox Diamonds. And I think that's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, it's quite perfect for you.
It might even get better. I see a Sphere of Resistance, but now, like, do I play that into a daze, or am I not playing that into a daze? I am.
Which makes sense, to be quite honest. First of all, you've got 2, and there you go. That was sent with the force, yeah. If I do not have the daze there, the game is over already. And honestly, there is something to be said about just playing to your outs. If you know that, well, I went down to 6, I pondered and I shuffled, it means the hand could be quite awkward, and, you know, make him have it. This way I had it, okay, sure. Happen to get rid of your Urza Saga, but also that means currently I'm entirely without lands and I have to basically start, and you are 2 lands in front just by playing the game. So what did I do here? I counted your acceleration just for you to be accelerated to the game. You've got your Mox Diamond and you're playing your second land, and I've got nothing.
And here I'm playing another Sphere of Resistance, and I took a glimpse at my hand, and it looked like pretty perfect. Oh, honestly, I had a loam in my hand still. I think I had a Ghost Quarter, if I see that correctly. So, a little sad to see the Saga go, always am, but at this point, that's fine.
And of course, there you go with the acceleration and the Sphere of Resistance in place, which I had to let resolve. This game is going to slow way down, and that of course is to your benefit. In the end, the shell isn't called Tempo for nothing, and if you're ahead on the board and you can basically dictate the pace of the game, it's already a hard matchup, and it's not going to get any easier due to that.
So, here is that a rumble?
Play live from the loam.
Yeah, looming back the Saga. Now the Saga is a difficult card for you to deal with if you don't have Force of Negation, because you don't want to counter it really. It only slows me down.
I loathe the fact that neither Tempo Shell has a really good way to deal with Saga. I mean, obviously it's a Wasteland deck, and Wasteland works. But sometimes, you know, in Modern you can hit it with enchantment removal just, you know, as a byproduct of having to play enchantment removal anyways. And here, especially against lands, my wastelands are so valuable, and quote-unquote wasting them on an Urza Saga isn't always the right play to make. Especially, of course, since Life from Loam just means basically we're just waiting for it to come back anyways. So you saw me daze your play there, which, again, is the worst of both worlds because it just goes back to the graveyard. And at this point, I am really, really sad about the fact that I haven't found any graveyard hate.
Yes, I can imagine. Like, that's the hope now. And now that I got the Saga back, that with already 2 artifacts in play, that is a difficult position.
But again, the way that you played the Spheres of Resistance is quite clever, because you saw me ponder and shuffle, which is usually an indicator for me looking to find something specific, and obviously the most obvious one being lands. And so, despite the fact that I managed to daze you twice, that also sets me back when it comes to land drops. You managed to develop the Sphere of Resistance, and it must be now turn 5 or turn 6, and I just now found my second land since I had to use my Wasteland so early. And again, never once in this game was I actually ahead, and that shows now. This being game 2, of course, and having lost game 1 already, there's no reason for me to concede here, but I can really realistically assume that I will never win this game from this position.
I think so too. It's like a commercial for the land stack, right? You're annoyed of losing to Tempo, play lands. But then, you know, I have to say you will lose to other decks. Which is really the downside of playing lands. I feel like the matchups can be quite swingy. Playing against certain like very fast combo decks is just tough, and then playing against like Red Stompy is just a nightmare, honestly.
Yeah. So here we see the first life total change after 5 turns or 6, with me fetching a basic island, again because of the threat of Wasteland. And playing Brainstorm for 2 mana because I have to. And notice it's the small things, right? Sphere of Resistance is bad enough as it is, but it also meant that I couldn't play Brainstorm and then fetch away whatever I was going to put on top because I need to have 2 mana for it. And so it makes my Brainstorm worse. And these little advantages just keep on accumulating in the end to such a position that is, again, as I said, basically unwinnable. However, of course, we're not throwing in the towel just yet. I've got a full grip of cards, trying to make something happen.
I think, I mean, you have quite some cards in the graveyard. So if you find a big Murktide, it might still be too slow, but
it would be a beginning at least, considering that currently your combo
right.
has not yet been established, and you also don't have a Maze of Ith, at least not present, meaning that I actually might be able to push through a threat. But still, you're on 20, and you've got half a dozen lands in front of you almost. We'll see. Starting to make some tokens, of course, with the Ursa Saga triggers on the stack.
I think at this point I can play it kind of slow. I don't need to rush. At this point also I don't think I go very heavily for the Merit Lage combo because it just takes too much time and too much lands. So I think I should go for the construct plan here, which we will see if I want to.
Which is the absolute worst to hear as the opponent, because again, I want to be the one in control of the pace of the game, and you said if you can keep it and play it slowly as the land stack, that speaks to your high advantage here. And the Saga plan, of course, being even harder to deal with for me than the Merit Lage plan, because as I said earlier, one of the good cards I've got against you is making you sacrifice a token, but there you go. There are now 2 token creatures, which means I will never get rid of a Merit Lage if it shows up.
And the constructs are now 4/4s. They will now become 5/5s. Potentially able to attack even if I got the glorious skateboard out, which I did.
Merit Lage on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Eventually.
The legacy we love. So here I have to decide. I still have a land drop. So do I equip the skateboard and attack for 10, or do I play another land and can make 1 more token next end of turn or whenever?
You see me fetching for a basic again. At this point in time, I'm not even sure if that's the right or the wrong call, though to be fair, I've got my 2 blue mana already, so I might as well. And I do recall needing 3 mana to cast whatever I'm casting right now, because otherwise I should have searched for the Surveil land. That Sphere of Resistance still causing me trouble. And so here I have to use the Shieldred's Edict against one of your tokens, of course, which one dies doesn't matter. But again, it's the small advantages accumulating. The fact that you managed to keep those tokens out now means I have to use Shieldred's Edict, which is my 1 out for an actual Merit Lage token. But I'm going to die to these tokens as well, and so I have to get rid of them. The only other answer I've got against these is Brazen Borrow, or rather Petty Theft.
Here I'm wondering if you should have played the Shieldred's Edict with the 2nd token creation on the stack.
There's a point to be made here, possibly, although I am not quite sure if I was certain that I have to do this at that point. But I can't quite recall.
So now you're taking 4. And I think I just slow roll it from here.
Yeah, you're just doing a victory lap right now, which is fine, you know.
Yeah.
I'm used to it. But again, maybe speak to me about the position of the deck in the meta, because this game, as we see, is practically over, so we might as well use the time. What do you consider to be your bad matchups with lands?
Well, everything that's fast combo, so Oops All Spells is not that good. You can steal a few games with Crop into Bazooka Bog, but you don't have any turn 0 interaction whatsoever, so that's really difficult. I really don't like decks that can outvalue me, so the new Thalia decks are really difficult for me. They blink Mox Diamond, they blink Constructs, they blink Merit Lage. So failure decks are bad. They also have swords as an answer. What else? So personally, I think show and tell is horrible, but other Lens players are telling me they don't have a problem with it, so maybe it's just a skill issue. But I find it also very difficult to find the right disruption for show and tell. I feel like whenever I try to be prepared for the one thing, I lose to the other thing. So
yeah, let me point out quickly, first of all, about the show and tell matchup. Sometimes it's just sample size and the experiences you made. But I want to point out the spot right now that we're in, because I just played a Tamio, and obviously Tamio being a huge point of contention of the current Legacy format, as far as how much she turns the game on its head and actually makes the game about her and her only. And this is one of the spots in which it becomes clear that she is obviously extremely powerful and certainly a candidate for a future banning. But there are also spots in which the card is just absolute garbage. And that usually is not where you want to be when it comes to such a card. That being said, she's, well, a flying blocker, exclusively flying, that is. But something that has to be said about Tamio is that she is a much worse top deck in the late game sometimes than other cards of her quality were. Cards which have been banned in the format, or cards which are on the verge of being banned. And I just like this spot here. Well, I don't like anything about it, but I do like showing this off as I drew a Tamio, I played it out just so I have something, but it just doesn't do anything. And it's probably never ever going to do anything in this game. And so we're waiting for you to finish me, and me stubbornly not conceding and therefore extending this video. Knowing that we're on camera, I should have done our viewers a favor here.
Well, I think I named Flooded Strand with this needle.
Yeah, you got me on the wrong track, on the wrong foot there. I never expected you to name Flooded Strand, which, in retrospect, was the obvious thing to name here, unless of course I fetch in response, which I should have done like a good player. But at this point I was just, I remember you calling it, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure, that happened. I didn't pay attention here, and that sucks for me. I was thinking that you were just going to name Wasteland, and never really considered that you could name Flooded Strand.
So now I clean up your lands with
I remember, sorry, excuse me, I remember feeling particularly proud about the Bloodstained Mire there, thinking like, I got you.
Yeah, that was good.
There you go, that's a fetch land. Look at me, look at me go.
I can still edict.
I think the thing that drives me crazy most about this particular game is that I never actually lowered your life total. You never, ever, ever took a single point of damage, which, well, as you said, you're advertising your own deck, and I'm advertising why you should not play Dimir Tempo, which, of course, both of these points might be somewhat questionable, but yeah, that was just not well played out. And look at that, I've got another Tamio because the first one worked so well.
I mean, I played quite some Dimir Tempo as well, and I knew the feeling when nothing, like, when you don't get into the game, you do nothing basically, which really feels bad.
Yeah. But it's nice, and I'm letting you enjoy your win, like a good opponent. But looking back at this game and looking at my graveyard, so you see the Ponder I played at the very beginning, which I had to shuffle away. 2 dazes that I used to basically just slow you down, since both of these cards did end up coming back. A Shieldred's Edict, which I was forced to play because otherwise I would be dead already. And ultimately a Tamio that blocked, and that's it. What broke my back here was, of course, the Sphere of Resistance, because in the end, if the deck can't cast cheap spells, it's not going to win. However, again, going back to the example of the Izzet deck, or even the more aggressive Dimir shells, if you can establish a 1-drop, there is a different story now. And the build that I'm playing of this deck right now is a very greedy one, where I hardly have any 1-drops except for the Tamios. And you could see in the last couple of weeks that the deck has gotten more aggressive again. People are playing more Nethergoyfs and other 1-drops, specifically in order to deal with the combo matchups, which have gotten more and more currently. Combo and control, that is. And so I'm going to concede rather soon, and this will be the end of the video. So thanks for watching, and catch you guys in the next one.
See you in round 2.
So, haben wir es doch geschafft. Ich mach mal.